Hello guys and welcome back. This is Peter Dahlgren and I'm building the Mears Models F86. And what I'm doing here is a little bit of detailing legwork and things like that. And this is a questions and answers episode about the jet. And I've had a lot of inquiries about it. And I'm just going to do some details while I'm talking to you guys about this stuff. And these are all just these are viewers' questions and questions that have been even more so said on Facebook about the jet. And a lot of it, the number one question I get is it really is it simple to build? Yes, it is. It's let me reiterate a couple things with this, fellas, because there's some things that I want you guys to know about this jet. And there's a few of you that have built this jet just by watching my videos. And I'm very, very, very proud of that. And so, I've seen some pretty fantastic results. And a lot of guys have come up there and say, yeah, I built this solely by watching you. And, excuse me, I've been fighting off some freaking crud forever now. Phew. Damn, boys. Anyway, one of the things is that I get a lot of questions on is the cost of this jet. What does it cost to build something like that? How easy is it to get into it and whatever. Well, guys, I steered away from jets for the main reason is because the expense of them. And I later learned, because I got into large scale airplanes and I love these things. I mean, these are building these airplanes are just, they keep me kind of sane. I don't know. I've never been a guy that could ever stick around and not have something to do, but at the same time, I did RC cars for a long time and actually got very, very, very bored with them. And I think one of the big things is that, that being said, a lot of guys have asked me, well, what's the deal with the jet? Okay, and how do you afford it? Well, guys, jets are not all that expensive when you consider what a multi cost and all this other stuff. You're going to be about the same, doesn't matter what you build, and that's the actual fact. The kit costs about $500 in American, and I think one of the big things is, and this is going to answer a couple questions compared to what a lot of you guys were wanting to know, and hopefully this little statement actually answers a lot of that question. Cost on these airplanes, there's no such thing as a cheap airplane, guys. It just doesn't happen. And the reason for building the mirrors was because of the fact that for what it cost to build the airframe, I could build the jet for about the cost of what just the airframe would cost in, say, a Tomahawk or any of those. Those are beautiful airplanes. And those are for the guys that have the big bucks. And I don't. I got lucky with this jet in a lot of ways because a lot of it, like the landing gear, Carton built this for me and got a really good deal with that. And that meaning that he's a viewer just like you guys, and he was actually one of those guys that just come up to you. I already built this. I did an episode on landing gear. I was having I was trying to modify some gear because this thing, even at quarter scale, is there just isn't anything out there in rotating gear. So I almost made this a Fury, and just those in there, and having guys that are internationally just kind of really getting completely and directly involved with this build, and I don't like that. So anyway, I think one of the biggest things is that the decision to build a jet after building a Zeroli Spitfire, which I adored that airplane. I actually put a hell of a lot into it and lost it in a fire, never even got it finished. And that was also my first cockpit build I ever did. And if you're on my Facebook, look on that, because I actually did post a picture of that one. And I just kind of did these things at kind of random. And I put a lot of money into that kit. And the Zeroli Spitfire kit was to have it cut and everything by the plans for it, everything else that I did do, by the time I paid for everything and all the extras, the canopies and all that stuff like that. The landing gear and all that other stuff was still grand. And after weighing out options with everything, I found that if I built the Mears airplanes, that I could build this as being a very big airplane, quarter scale, comes up to being 9 feet long. And so if you guys weren't aware of that, some of you guys are building it, this airplane is very big. And but it's what I wanted. And the thing is to do that and have these little things done, then the cost, by the time I did the wood, I'd actually on this and the wings and everything. Glassing is no cheap task on this. It goes through a lot of resins, a lot of areas to cover, a lot of waste going in there. And as much as I tried not to waste material, couldn't help it. You have a lot of spoilage. And that's because the airplane is big, and a lot of these parts and everything else that goes with it does. So it cost about approximately to build this airframe with wood, glues. Gosh, guys, you get a gallon of glue before you even start building this son of a bitch, because it will go through a lot of glue. By the time you back glue and everything doing this, and I only use Gorilla. And you can use anything depending on what country you got, but I'm using Gorilla Glue. That stuff doesn't let go for nothing, and it's stronger than the wood. And so, being a carpenter for a living, that's kind of that was kind of the deal with it. And so, cost-wise on the airframe to build it was approximately, I'm going to say about $2,500 by the time I did all the stuff to this. And you're looking at, this is about where I'm at. That's the whole airplane. About, I'm going to say between $2,000 and $2,500 to build this. By the time you get the extra stuff and all the other crap I did with it, because I do that and stuff like that. I just kind of went with, my whole thing was I would just go ahead and build the airplane, don't worry about it. But over the course of time, I got this. I bought a used turbine, which was something that I got a really good deal from a doctor in the UK. He's actually a viewer as well. And Dr. Spencer and I bought a Jetmans 160G, more than enough power for this airplane. And it will, it does actually, in fact, it saved me about $2,000 to buy it used. Another thing that Other people kind of look at and say, hey, what's going on with that? Okay, there's nothing wrong with buying a used turbine, guys. If you can do that, you're going to save a buttload of money. And they're not cheap. So basically with that and all the rest of the stuff, of course your radio gear, I'm using a DX18. Spectrums are great radios. I have all that stuff. I got the power safe system in here, and that's what I'm using for everything. And I got that used. I bought it on eBay, took it down, upgraded it, checked it out, got it for a couple $100. So I'm always being frugal. Not that I'm cheap, because I am, but there's nothing wrong with saving a few bucks. When you get in and look at a lot of things kind of sideways with these things, you kind of got to look at the big picture of what it is you're going to actually do. Now, this airplane is invited and it will go to Top Gun. It won't go this year, it will go next year. There's just no possible way that I can get the thing done. And all I'm saying is that the main thing here with a lot of this is just keeping everything within a normal price range on everything, because if you don't, you're looking at extra money spent. I went with ProLink landing gear, main gear, because I've used them. I used the Hercules. That's good for weights for airplanes up to 50 pounds, and they're about $100 for each unit. But you're looking at huge savings overall in when it comes down to the brass nut of it. The saving of it is way, it's there. So yes, guys, you're going to spend a fair amount of money on the airplane. You're going to get away from it, but you're going to be able to save. Bottom line, you're going to be able to build this airplane. If you build it sport scale and you build it for your own use, you're not going to compete. You're not going to do all this stuff I'm doing to it right now. You can build this airplane for under, I don't know, if you use new and or used stuff like I do and all that, or you have things that have already been laying around and this and that, you're a machinist and you can build stuff yourself and make things work, such as we've done here. And when I say we, I mean I'm involving a lot of people that have been involved in this build for a very long time. And Carton Alexander built the landing gear for this. So my German friends have all stepped up to the plate. They're wonderful people, and they come out and they actually bring a lot to the plate. And so those of you that are in the 13 countries that are actually, it's actually more than that now, than all of you from Australia, Germany, England, all over the UK. You've got guys in Sweden. Gosh, we've got them everywhere. Philippines. Believe it or not, I got a couple guys. Why don't you guys check out a guy too? Because this is his question. And Iglesias says he's becoming kind of an icon in his country in Nigeria. The guy is 16 years old. I posted a deal on my Facebook where he's sitting there with a utility knife and cutting out, I don't know what kind of wood that is. He's building airplanes in a country that is just the most foulest, dishonest, rottenest pile of crap in a most corrupted government. I'm sorry, freaking Nigerians, if that offends you, but you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, your boys that are over there that are trying to do this stuff, and they're killing it. They are making this stuff just amazing. And I've seen these guys out there just kind of, you know, I've seen it. So I did. I sent him a bunch of these tools and a bunch of stuff like that just to kind of get him going because I don't use any machines when I build. You guys will never find a belt sander. You guys aren't going to find router tables and stuff like that because I don't build like that. And I see a lot of you guys that do, and my hat's off to you. If you can buy all that stuff, it's great. I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of guys came out and actually brought in to play that they noticed that my airplanes have a distinct style of building, and that comes with years. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old, guys. I started out building Gulos and driving my mom freaking crazy because my mom's an absolute neat freak. And she's just freaking hilarious. She's my buddy. And when I started building, I was building these Gulos, rubber powered planes, and I got into control lines and all this, and everybody started raising hell because, man, I had more balsa wood on the floor, and my mom came in one day and literally flipped out. And that's where I kind of learned how to be kind of a neat freak at home, but my shop, no way is that going to stay clean. Dirty shop's a busy shop, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not the best housekeeper in the world. My house is spotless, but I just, these are all little things that I just have always done. And so my building experiences came with things because when I was a kid, I got picked on a lot. And I really did not like people that much. And it was just one of those deals where I kind of went in and actually had to kind of make my own fun. And being bullied in school, my only friend was my models. And my grandpa, that's how him and I bonded because he was an aircraft mechanic. And of course, then again, he owned the lumberyard, and he was the guy that always told me that I'm not that guy that waits for an opportunity. I'm that son of a bitch that kicks the door and says, here I am. And I've always lived by that thought and motto, and so we never take anything for granted when it comes down to actual things that come out and just be good at what you're doing. Enjoy what you're doing. That's the main thing. If you don't like what you're doing and this stuff gets frustrating and it just starts to get on your nerves, then there's other things to do. I mean, there's a lot of people that have always come out and says, God, you build some crazy stuff. And yes, I do. And I just have always enjoyed doing little things that, you know, some other people go, God, you can build a real airplane for what you got in that. Yeah, and I've done it. But the one thing is that, yeah, are you going to put a Cessna 150 in your living room? No. Do you want to pay for ungodly amounts of maintenance and time and things like that? No, you don't. These airplanes will keep you entertained for hours. And I think one of the big things is that once you see how it all goes together, it just all starts to tie itself together. And I think you really just got to kind of hit it. And that kind of leads me to the next question. Did I build a building schedule for this airplane? No. Because, guys, there's no way I could ever put a time frame on this to even give any kind of idea of when it's going to be done. Because there is no way. And that leads me to my statement, which I got a lot of criticism before, but it's the absolute truth. And that is, you never finish one of these builds. You give up on it. And you go out and you fly it. You get to the point where you say, I've had enough of that crap. I'm not doing that anymore. To hell with it. I'm done. See you later. And as you can see, guys, I just sit around here and I do this for a while, and then I'll move from one thing to another, and I go until my tapes wore out, and then I'll figure something else out, and usually it serves me well. Another question is, how long does it take to do a panel and rivets? Well, I think what I'm doing right here kind of answered that question. And this is, again, this is going to be depend on you and your skill set and what you're doing and what you want to be doing. And your dedication and your drive and your concentration levels on what you're wanting to do with your airplane. It is a commitment to build an airplane a certain way. Doing this has been, like I said, this particular part of this build has been, this is my most favorite part. And I love detailing them. Like I said, these rivets stick extremely well, and they're not even an issue. I think one of the other things too, and there's been a lot of question about the sale of this airplane. And yes, it is going to be for sale eventually, and the reason for it is because this will finance the next one. And it's not because I'm broke, it's because I like to build and have the materials available to do the next one, if it is at all possible. And so I just keep on plugging with these things. I've had another question that was kind of one of these deals where I was asked about, you know, aviation conferences, and yes, I was asked to go speak in Hamburg, Germany a while back on talking about the airplanes and what I'm actually in fact doing, and I didn't decline it. I just didn't do it. The reason I didn't do it was because time, and even though I was extremely amazingly honored to do it, I just didn't do it. And it wasn't because I didn't want to, it's just that I wanted to do something completely off the wall different, and this was in the mix. I'd already lost the Spitfire, so I was not in the best mood sets about anything at that time, and I just kind of walked away. Another question I was asked is, how did I wind up getting the jet here from Serbia? And it's actually kind of a cool story, and this is something that I kind of laugh about, but it's not exactly, it wasn't really all that big of a deal at the time, but one of the things that did kind of happen was that I bought this airplane and was going to go to Top Gun. We broke down. we were en route to Florida and we broke down, and it just kind of, I don't know, we got that old Cadillac had some issues sometimes, and I drove that car forever. I mean, I put, God, I forget how many miles were on that thing now. It was well over 300,000. But I don't ever get rid of anything. I get a car, I drive it till the wheels fall off, but I don't have fancy things. I'm driving a Jeep Liberty now. And one of the big things about that is that I just didn't, I don't know. I'm just not a car guy so much anymore. I used to. I've had lots of hot rods, used to paint tons of them. I think one of the big things was just got kind of sick of cars for a while. Built lots of them, and it just became not my thing anymore. And I don't know. Well, now I didn't care. Just whatever. I think a lot of people kind of really kind of sit and cringe a little bit when they see what I'm doing here. But really, guys, I mean, back to another question. How long does it take to do a panel? Well, this one's just about done. It didn't take that long at all, but I'm working around different parts of the airplane. I don't commit to one area. I go and I look at something, and then come back and look at the deals and the details I have put in it. And this is just the way I like to do it. And yeah. And this is how I just do these things, guys. Anyway, if I sold this airplane, that was another question. How much would it be? It'd be with the engine and everything. You'd be looking about $8,000. That's just because that's what I'd ask for it. It's just not really a great big thing, and rocket science on that. It's just I've got a lot of time in this one, and not that it's worth that. Probably not, but you know, when I do sell it, it'll go towards it'll be a trade agreement with whoever does get it. This airplane will be sold with a trade agreement that they gotta buy and have a new kit shipped, and it'd have to come directly to me, and it'd have to be for everything that it's gonna need to finish it. And that's how I'd do it. Another question was, will I build airplanes for other people? Absolutely. If you got one you want built, that changes the game completely, depending on what you want with it and the build. Or if you want your airplane built on an actual show, then yes, I'll do that too. and I would definitely do that. I think one of the big thing is that my time that I use a lot to build airplanes is kind of one of them deals where time and allotment to build an airplane is a commitment. It's got to be done within a deal. Sometimes, depending on the caliber of the build, it can be done. It'll it really, 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 really depends on the time on an airplane to build it. If I build one for somebody, there can be absolutely no time expectation on it, because there's no way. To frame an airplane is one thing. To build it and detail it, that is absolutely another thing. And panel line stuff like that's fine. If you want the old Dremel style work done, then that's fine. But I don't like to do that. And I really don't like to do that kind of work. I don't like it to look like anybody else's too. Also, and I had another guy, a couple guys that asked me if I would definitely consider and please consider building them a cockpit kit, and I will do that. But you got to send me your tub, and if you're building one of these, I need the whole entire top of the airplane to do that. To do it, because the fact is that is extremely time consuming. It's nuts. There's absolutely no points for no second place in that stuff. It is what it is. And yeah, so as you can see, okay, I need some big ones. This stuff's actually pretty enjoyable part of this build, guys. This stuff takes a little bit of time to get it mastered, but once you do it, nothing to it. And this is just how we roll. And that looks, I love to look at this stuff when it really comes down here. Now guys, that's one panel, and it took a whole 34 minutes to do this one panel, and some other things, not just all stuck in one. But when you start getting things and start getting them to where they're looking like that, these are things that people just look at and go, damn. But anyway, I'm basically done with that panel, and it looks pretty freaking amazing. These are little things you got to do. I think another thing that a lot of people do, and this is a very long video, I hope a lot of you guys made it through it. And you know what? I do this because I enjoy it. And I think one of the biggest deals here is getting everybody kind of on the same page. Is that your abilities are only limited by your imagination, no matter what it is you do in life. And I've told my daughters this a lot. And one that I really miss horribly, and I can tell you, you never take anything because for granted because your life can change just like that, and or be over just like that. And so, no matter what you do in life, make sure you made your mark. Make sure that you got something that people are going to remember a good thing about you. And these are all things that my kids have all overachieved big time, and they were wonderful people, and Josie especially, and I miss her. I miss her a lot. This is not something that she would probably do with me, but she did everything else she could. Yeah, and it was just one of those things that I think in a lot of ways you got to kind of look at things as a blessing. Maybe sometimes you get a little choked up about things. But I do things my way because I know they're the way they're going to be. And this is something I'm very proud of. And something I really love doing. And I love the camaraderie and the people that are out there. I'll see you guys in the funny paper.